The film opens in a calm, almost meditative atmosphere. The camera slowly glides through the quiet streets of Paris. Morning light reflects softly in shop, windows, and on the pale walls of old buildings. The city feels gentle and unhurried, as if time itself has slowed. This serene rhythm introduces us to Shauna. Shauna is a confident, elegant, and mature woman who lives a carefully balanced life. She works in the arts, surrounded by books, exhibitions, and thoughtful conversations. Her days are filled with cultural events, literary evenings, and familiar routines that give her a sense of control. Independence is not just a habit for her, is a necessity. She has learned to rely only on herself. Her past relationships did not leave her broken, but they taught her caution. She knows what emotional chaos feels like, and she has no desire to return there. Over time, she has chosen peace over passion, stability over risk. Shauna has mastered the art of keeping her emotions in check, presenting a composed exterior to the world. At home, her apartment reflects her inner life, quiet, orderly, filled with memories but not haunted by them. She enjoys solitude and has grown comfortable with silence. Yet beneath this calm surface lies something unspoken, a longing she refuses to name. At this stage of her life, Shauna believes she has already lived her great love story. What remains, she thinks, is simply to maintain balance and dignity. The city outside continues its gentle movement, unaware that her carefully constructed calm is about to be quietly, unexpectedly disturbed. One evening, Shauna attends a book launch at a small cultural venue. The room is warm and alive with conversation. People speak passionately about literature, art, and life, glasses clinking softly as ideas flow freely. Shauna moves easily through the crowd, comfortable in this world. That is when she notices Pierre. He is younger, standing slightly apart from the center of attention. There is nothing loud or performative about him. His energy is calm, his presence sincere. When their paths cross, conversation begins naturally, first about the book, then about favorite authors, then about cinema and poetry. Pierre listens carefully, responding thoughtfully rather than trying to impress. What draws Shauna in is not charm, but attentiveness. Pierre notices details. He asks questions that matter. Their discussion feels easy, unforced. Time passes unnoticed. As the evening ends, neither of them expects anything more than a pleasant exchange. Yet there is a quiet curiosity on both sides. They exchange a few more words outside, under the soft glow of streetlights. Paris hums gently around them. Shauna walks home alone, telling herself it was simply an interesting conversation, nothing more. Still, she finds herself replaying moments of it, the way Pierre spoke about art, the sincerity in his voice. She dismisses the feeling quickly. She has learned not to linger on possibilities. Pierre, too, carries the encounter with him, unsure why it felt different, but aware that it did. Neither of them realizes this brief meeting has set something fragile and irreversible in motion. After that evening, their paths cross again. Then again, slowly, deliberately, a friendship begins to take shape. They meet for coffee, then for walks along the Seine. Sometimes they wander without direction, letting the city guide them. Conversation flows easily. They talk about films that stayed with them, poems that shaped their thinking, memories they rarely share. Shauna is surprised by how comfortable she feels speaking with Pia. There is no pressure, no expectation, just presence. Still, she remains cautious. The difference in their ages is impossible to ignore. Shauna is aware of how things might look, how temporary it could be. A quiet voice inside her reminds her not to become attached. She keeps an emotional distance, even as she enjoys his company. Pia senses this boundary and respects it. He never pushes. He listens more than he speaks. Over time, his patience begins to soften her defenses. He shares his own doubts, his uncertainty about the future, his fear of making the wrong choices in a world that expects him to have answers. Shauna responds with honesty of her own. She speaks about her past, about learning to stand alone, about choosing independence after disappointment. These conversations create a sense of trust neither of them anticipated. Their meetings become part of a rhythm. Not dramatic, not intense, just quietly meaningful. The film lingers on small moments, shared laughter, thoughtful silences, side-by-side walking. What neither of them says aloud is already present. Something is changing, and both are afraid to name it. The film slows, focusing on moments that seem insignificant but carry weight. Long walks at dusk, sitting on park benches without speaking, watching the city lights come alive. These scenes reveal intimacy without words. Pia opens up more, admitting how often he feels unprepared for adult life. He speaks of responsibility as something heavy and unfamiliar. Shauna listens, offering understanding rather than solutions. In return, she speaks about her younger self, about the fear of being alone, the relationships that once defined her identity. She explains how independence became her shield. Pia listens with quiet respect. Their bond deepens through presence rather than action. No dramatic gestures, no declarations. Just closeness. Slowly, friendship becomes something else. The shift is subtle, noticed first in glances that linger, in moments where silence feels charged. But when their first kiss finally happens, it is gentle and restrained, yet unmistakably transformative. Nothing is said afterward, but everything has changed. Shauna feels it immediately. The calm she worked so hard to protect begins to tremble. Joy mixes with fear. Desire awakens doubts she thought she had outgrown. Pia, by contrast, feels clarity. What he feels is real, and he does not question it. For him, the connection is simple, honest, and worth pursuing. For Shauna, it is beautiful and terrifying. After the kiss, Shauna's fears intensify. She begins to think not about the present, but about the future, about expectations, about endings. She worries Pia will eventually want things she cannot give: a different life, children, beginnings she has already lived through. She fears becoming a temporary chapter in his story. The thought of another painful separation feels unbearable. Pierre, however, is certain. He is ready to move forward to face complications and judgment. When they appear together in public, reactions are subtle but unmistakable glances, whispers, curiosity that quickly turns into quiet judgment. These moments weigh heavily on Shauna. Society's gaze makes her retreat inward. She begins to close herself off emotionally, questioning everything. Pierre senses the change, but doesn't understand it. He tries to reassure her, but words cannot silence fears rooted in time and experience. The relationship, once gentle and open, becomes fragile. Shauna feels trapped between happiness and self-protection. Every moment of closeness is followed by doubt. Love no longer feels safe. In a painful moment, Shauna pulls away. She tells Pierre their relationship is a mistake. They are too different, living in separate worlds. Her words are measured but devastating. Distance follows. Pierre is left confused, searching for answers, wondering what he did wrong. Shauna retreats into her apartment, surrounded by silence. The film slows dramatically, focusing on her isolation. She revisits memories walks, conversations, shared smiles. Each moment reminds her of something undeniable. For the first time in years, she felt alive. The realization is both comforting and frightening. She understands that what she tried to protect herself from is exactly what gave her life meaning again. The silence becomes unbearable. Shauna decides to stop running. She finds Pierre and speaks openly about everything: her age, her fears, her doubts, her terror of hurting him or being hurt again. This conversation is quiet, honest, and transformative. Pierre responds simply. What matters to him is not age or opinion, but what they feel now. The ending remains open. They walk through Paris together, hand in hand. No promises, no certainty. Only truth. As night falls, they blend into the city together.